Okay, nerds, I'm going to give you a quick run through of the basics of Premiere Pro. So, first things first, I'm going to teach you how to import some stuff. So there's two ways to do this, and I'll teach you both. So you're going to go to File, Import, and I don't need to import anything, I don't think, right now, so I'm just going to show you how to do it. So you're going to find it, you're going to click it, and you're just going to click Import, which is, pretty basic. And the second way you can do it is you can go to your project panel over here, and you can right-click, import, and then do the same thing over again. Now I'm going to get more into the tips and tricks about how to work this. I guess the basic thing you'd want to know is the razor tool, which is this thing right here. And the way this thing works is literally just cutting stuff up. So this bar down here is going to help you make things bigger and smaller and stuff like that. So if I really, really want to get up close, it can get pretty tiny, and you can cut it up however you want. And then Command Z is how you undo stuff. So Command Z, and it is one conjoined thing again. Also, I guess I forgot this part. If you want to bring something over here, you simply go to this project panel. You can double click it, it'll show up here. Or you can drag it in here, and then there it is. Okay, next up is the only other really crucial thing you need to know about over here is your type tool. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can literally just type things to mess with this font and stuff like that. You go to your effects controls over here. Anytime you ever add an effect or something altering to your clip or your audio, you're gonna go in here, and this is how you can control it. So it's going to be highlighted up here. It might not be open, so if it's not, you can click this arrow down here. So these are all your fonts. You can click whatever you want. Make sure it's highlighted. Sometimes you don't even need to do that. You can make it bigger if you want, or you can mess with this thing here, which will make it bigger and smaller. It's kind of confusing because down here, position and scale also does that too. So you can make it bigger pretty much 3 different ways. Your position is how you want to move it from left to right and up and down. And then your fill, you will have to highlight it for it to work. So if it doesn't work, make sure it's all highlighted. You can change the fill. You can add a stroke, and you can make it different colors. You can add multiple strokes. You can add a background, which is just kind of like the thickness of it. You can see how this has like a weird shadow thing. And then you can also add shadows, which you can change the angle of and stuff like that, but that's something you can mess with another time. Next up, I'm going to teach you some of the basic effects and stuff like that. So your most basic video transitions are going to be your fades and stuff like that. So the most popular one that we have is the dip to black, dip to white, and then cross dissolve. And so the ways you can add these is literally pretty simple. Drag it, and there it is. And it fades it. And if you want, you can always make these longer or shorter. You can mess around with them. Sometimes you can just drag it in this, but if you have some next to each other, sometimes it messes up and it won't let you drag it. So let's say I want to do a dip to black on one of them. So you see how sometimes you can have effects where you can have it on both, and sometimes you can't, like how this one won't go on that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this one, click on that effect, and this thing will pop up, and you can take this over here and drag it over. Some of these are kind of glitchy just because they mess with the resolution and the pixels of the video and stuff like that. In your immerse video are some of my favorites. On our intro over here, we added a immerse video effect for the text. And that's how you do that. So there's your video transitions, video effects, which are all pretty self-explanatory. You kind of just have to take time to mess around with those on your own. Audio effects, I don't know much about, except for your denoiser. So it might not always sound better, but let's say you have an audio clip with a lot of background noise in it, and you can't get rid of that background noise. But let's say you have an air conditioner on in the background, and it's really loud, and it's overpowering what people are saying. You can use this denoiser and drag it, same way you would a video, onto your audio, and now it should be drowned out. But if it's not super noticeable, it can drown out the voices of others as well. So there's some other audio tips and tricks you can do, but that's also something you got to mess around with. And if the simple thing is like, oh, my audio is too loud compared to something else, you can take this line down here and literally just move it around. Another thing you can do is you can right click and go to your audio gain, and you can change it. Normally you try to do it by like increments of 3 or 5 if it's a lot, and it'll slowly make the sound waves a bit higher. So let's do 5. And you're going to see how they change down here. So it's going to be a much more amplified sound. I can teach you how to link and unlink video. Let's get this random clip right here. And then you see how whenever it's put in, it has that video and audio. And see how none of these have any audio. So what we're going to do, let's say I don't want the audio for this clip. We're going to go over here, and we're going to select right click it, and we're going to do an unlink. And now you can move them around differently. So let me focus a bit more on the effect controls over here. So let's say you want to change that throughout the video. Like you want to add a very specific zoom on something, and the zoom effect just isn't doing it for you. So the way we do this, we're going to click the little toggle things next to the position and scale, which shows that you're going to change it throughout the video. And let's say I want to zoom in right here. So now you're going to choose your scale, zoom it in. We're going to zoom it in on the lovely Ian. And you're just going to kind of drag it around until you see what you want. And let's say I want to keep this until like right here. Let's say once he goes out of frame, we want it to zoom back out. So let's say we want it to zoom back out by like right here. So we're going to zoom all the way back out. If you remember the numbers of the original footage, this is much easier, but I don't. So we're just going to scooch it around until it looks right. Now it's zooming in on Ian. And then it's zooming back out, which looks kind of lame. So let's say I want it to stay right on Ian. Type that back in. It's the same scale, but this way it'll give us a keyframe right there, just because it's a little different. I know there's another way to do it. I just can't remember what it is. So now it's going to stay on Ian as we proceed with the video. That was probably a jumbled mess, and I'll probably re-explain that later. Okay, I'll teach you this for audio. So one of my favorite things for audio down here is being able to do a command click, and it adds a keyframe down here. And this way you can make the audio go higher and lower based on where you want it and stuff like that. If you really want just a nice, easy fade out of your clips, you can either do the keyframes or you can go to audio transitions and you can go, it's your exponential fade, and that'll slowly fade out the audio. So we're going to try to make this look a little bit brighter. So you can always add different video effects and stuff like that, like adding blur and sharpens, color correction, junk like that. But my go-to is going to this thing, the something, whatever that is, color. So we're going to select this. And you can mess with all of these different things. This is the one I normally go to. You can mess with the intensity. Quick thing. This you can change just in case something's buffering a lot. You can take down the resolution and it'll look a little bit blurrier, but it won't be like that permanently. Like there's a clip in here that has a really, really high resolution, so it tends to glitch. So I'll take this down and it'll just make it buffer less and you can watch it smoother. Okay, back to what we were talking about, my bad. So this one is mostly just for sharpening, vibrance, and saturation. And there's also tint balance if you really want to mess around with the tints and stuff like that, and you can do that. You know what? We're just going to make this as burnt looking as possible. Beautiful. And so this is your creative thing. So if let's say all these are closed, you go into your creative thing. And there's basic correction as well, which is like your exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, and saturation, which is kind of like editing a picture. And then curves, I don't really mess with because it's scary looking. And then your color wheel match is just kind of what you'd assume. And then this thing where you can add like the border of all that stuff. So I would say it's literally just like a video or a picture editor, just a lot fancier looking. Lastly, I'm going to teach you how to export. So you're going to click File, Export, Media. There we go. Right, we have our little circle dealy bop. Okay, and now it's showing up new. You're going to want to make sure this is at 0 and this is at the very end of your video. So just to make sure none of the exporting gets messed up. That, or you can do entire sequence and now you have the whole thing. Or just make sure your play has over. Yeah, you're fine. And then your format, you're going to want to go to H.264. And once you do that, these are going to change. And you're going to want to do your YouTube at 1080p full HD. And now you have that. And then this is literally just output name. You change whatever name you want. Make sure you have your video, your audio, all this you can normally leave alone, and then you're just going to click export, which we're not going to do right now. So yeah, I'll add on stuff later if I can think of anything, but so far these are your basics for Premiere Pro. And yeah, adios.